welcome to day 7 of Chanmas. I missed yesterday because we decided to drive to New York, which is a very long drive, and I had actually had a couple of calls during the drive, and when it came time for me to get ready to do the live, it was super dark in the car, and I was like, this is just not going to work, and I didn't want to force it. So here we are, catching up on day 7. I may or may not go live again today to do day 8, but day 7 I'm really excited because I want to bring forth this concept, which I already mentioned in one of the days prior, but this concept of scroller psychology. And I want to give you 6 different ideas of content, 6 different ways to message and tell stories so that you never feel like you have to feel empty of content ideas ever again. So I'm going to give you 6 different things, and these are what I call the content languages. And I'm going to tell you what these are and how they work and why they matter. So I've been creating content for every single day for almost 6 years, and I have learned a lot when it comes to content. I've bought so many different courses. I have studied other people's successful content. I have been a network marketer. I was an influencer, and now I'm running my own business using social media as my marketing vessel. With that being said, I feel like, and yes, I did pack my Santa hat just for these lives on this trip, but I feel like social media is something that we really overthink, but I know for a fact, like it's no one is born with the gift of content creation feeling easy. So if you're like, yeah, I don't love my content and I always feel like I don't have that good of ideas and I don't know what to say, if that's you, I want you to know first and foremost, like, you are not crazy. You are normal. It takes a long time, for some people, it takes a long time to feel very comfortable and confident in what they're putting out there. And then you add this layer of, okay, yeah, but now I have to actually sell as well. Like, I have to create content and then I have to sell and get people into my world. Like, what the heck? And I'm here to tell you that selling and content are 2 totally different things. Like, they are not the same thing. There's a sales skill set that you can develop, and then there's the content creation, the creativity skill set, the storytelling to develop. Like, all of that is over here. Selling is totally different. However, if you want to combine the 2, and if you want to accomplish the ability to get someone to stop while they're scrolling, so scroller psychology, you are going to you're going to turn into the best storyteller. And that is what I teach in my world. I created an entire membership around this concept because what I love to do and what I have learned has worked for me and my clients is the ability to document versus create. So what I mean by that is, instead of sitting down and thinking, okay, I want to call on someone's pain points for this and I want to talk about this over here because that's going to get them to sell, and you're trying to create, like you're trying to pull something out of thin air. Instead, you're going to go live your life. You're going to move through your life as you normally would, and you're going to take pieces of your life, you're going to contemplate them, and then you're going to document them. And that's going to turn into your content creation. And especially for us coaches. So I don't care what niche you're in. I have people in my world who are in all different niches. Like, it's like, it doesn't matter if you're not in the content creation or the business world. You're still posting content to market your business, to become well known, to expose what it is that you're offering. So even if you're not in those worlds of like content creation and business, there's so many things happening behind the scenes that you're missing out on the opportunity of documenting. And when you document, you naturally add this layer of authenticity to you. Like, you naturally add this layer of being more truthful, which on the scroller psychology end is going to allow you to like, the people watching you are going to resonate with you more. They're going to relate to you more. And it's not about being relatable. Okay. I hate when people go against that and they're like, oh, like I don't care about being relatable. Like, you should, you should, but you shouldn't be going out of your way to try and be relatable. You being yourself is relatability, and people are going to place themselves in your situations, even if they don't match up exactly. But that now we're touching into the power of specificity. So when you tell a story, it's very important that you place people in the story with you. So I'm going to go through these 6 ways of doing this in messaging and language. And I'm going to try to do this quickly because I could talk about this all day. I'm super passionate about this. But what I want you to conceptualize is, I want you to think of one of your offers, and probably the offer that you are inviting into right now. So that might be your one-on-one space. That might be your mastermind. That might be a group program that you're thinking of launching. Like whatever that thing is, I want you to think of what that program is. Now I'm going to go through 6 different ways that you can create content that would support that program. And the reason that you want to have your feed supporting that program and matching up is when someone finds your content, it's highly likely that if they love that piece of content, they're going to go to your profile and they're going to binge what else you have. So if you have like this feed that is covered in content that supports the idea of this offer without saying like, here's my offer, here's what it comes with, blah, 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 blah. We don't do that in our content on our feed. We do that in our stories. If you have all of this feed content that supports this offer, they're going to be like, whoa, like I fall in love with you here. I fall in love with you over here. I love this story. I see myself over here. And then all of a sudden they see in your stories that you're inviting into the group program that aligns with everything that they just consumed. And they're like, I'm in. Like, say less. That is the whole goal. That's why this matters. So starting with language number 1, this is origin content. And chances are if you've studied content, you've heard of origin content. Origin content is actually like painting a scene of a like particular moment in time that would align with the offer. So we'll do weight loss again. I know I keep using that, but it's just like the easiest one. So you're a weight loss coach and you're creating a weight loss program, okay? It's for people who want to lose 10 pounds. Let's just keep it simple. The origin story that you're going to tell in your content, which you can do in a reel, you can do it in a carousel, like you can do whatever. You're going to go back in time and you're going to tell us the story of when you realized you needed to lose 10 pounds. And I don't mean like, yeah, a couple years ago, it said pause due to bad connection. So hopefully I'm back. You're not going to say something like high level and fluffy and say like, yeah, a couple years ago, I realized I needed to lose weight. No, you're going to take us back to the moment in time and you're going to say, I woke up at 6 a.m., the time my alarm goes off every single morning, and I got in the shower. And when I stepped out of the shower, I caught my reflection in the mirror and I was like, holy crap, I'm not the girl I used to be. See how it's like, that is the story. Okay. So then you're going to tell us what happened scene by scene. That is origin content. And that has everything to do with the weight loss program. See how those things make sense? The second language is identity. So you could take another story the same way I picked that one, but now you're going to go into what happened in your mind versus the play-by-play, what happened in your heart. And you're going to tell us the identity that you had to take on. So if I go with the same story, okay, you could say something like, it was a Wednesday morning. I had my alarm set for 6 a.m. like I always do for work. I woke up, I went to work. No, I woke up, I got in the shower, and I was already like in my mind dreading my job. Like I didn't want to put on my uniform that day. Nothing felt fun. Like I just wasn't looking forward to it. It just felt like, gosh, this can't be life. And then I get out of the shower and I catch my reflection in the mirror and I immediately think to myself, I'm not worthy of, I'm painting the picture of someone who wants to lose weight. So it's like, I'm not worthy of anything good. Like just go to your job and blah, blah, blah. Now that's harsh. But again, I'm painting the picture of what's happening in her mind and in her heart. That has everything to do with what somebody who wants to lose 10 pounds in this program might be experiencing. Okay. That's identity. Then we go into the third piece of content, which is the gap and the remedy. This is my version of problem awareness and solution awareness combined. So a lot of people will teach problem awareness and like teach you to create pain point marketing and leave them in the pain. I completely disagree with that. Like, I think it's like disempowering for someone to just be like, you need to work on this, you suck at that, and here's where you're going wrong, blah, 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 blah. Like, that's not right. And I do think there's going to come this time in 2026 where like the typical carousels that we're seeing in the business world, at least, where it's like the first slide is calling you out. I think that's going to totally not survive in 2026. I think people are fed up with that. Anyway, the gap and the remedy. So you're going to pick a gap. Okay. This is different than a problem. The gap is like, for example, in my world, I'm closing the gap between who people are in real life and who they are in their content. And there's a gap there, and I'm closing that gap. So I'm going to find things in the gap, and that's what I'm going to create content on. So for example, I could say something like, your messaging in your carousel is not what you would say if you were having coffee with me and sitting at a table. Like, you're not even speaking the same. And so you see how that's a problem, but it's also part of the gap. So if that were for my program, that would be a great post, but it doesn't end there. That's the gap, and then you move into the remedy. Here's the remedy. Instead of using ChatGPT first, you're going to sit down and actually, like, maybe you voice message yourself what you want to say in your content, and then you write it out from there, so that way it sounds like you, like you're using your own lingo. Like sometimes I'll even say bro in my content because that's what I say in real life. It's like, try to sound as much like yourself, and that will help with your authenticity. So that would be the gap and the remedy. Then we move into proof of concept. So we have origin, we have identity, we have the gap and the remedy. Now we're in proof of concept. Proof of concept is your ability to talk about client results, to celebrate certain testimonials, whether they're for your clients or yourself. So at first, you are your strongest testimonial. Like you are going to be your strongest story, your strongest case study, until you start having a collection of client wins. And these can happen all the time. So maybe you're even hosting a call and you're like, someone on my call had this experience or this revelation or this breakthrough. I literally just got off a one-on-one, like before I started this live, and there's 10,000 pieces of content I can create from just a 60-minute conversation with a one-on-one. So again, you have things to talk about. You don't have to necessarily wait for like that one big result to happen for you to post proof of concept. Now, there's an entire structure that I use for creating a client hero highlight story, and we can go into that another day. But just know that this is another piece of content that you can use. So if you're having your weight loss program that you want people to come into, the doors are open, you're going to create proof of concept around either a past client who got the result that somebody would want in this program, or yourself. And that is proof of concept. All right, origin, identity, gap and the remedy, proof of concept. The next one is called the desire and the afterlife. This is arguably the most difficult for my clients to create. And I was just talking about this with a client. The desire and the afterlife is like your ability to truly showcase the embodiment that you hold in your work. So you should be a walking testimonial for your own work. You have achieved what your ideal client is desperately wanting to achieve. Your ability to capture not just the end result, but the way that you embody everything in between. So I just got off a call, like I said, with a one-on-one client, and she had this idea where she supports mothers, and she's more like therapy and mindset and nervous system regulation and all of that stuff. And she had this idea where she wanted to document, like, okay, here's everything I did this week to not lose my mind in motherhood. Or here's everything I did this week to stay sane, even though I have 4 kids and I'm a single mom. And so she's taking these things that she does, like these practices that she incorporates into her life, and she's going to turn that into a post. And that's going to be a weekly strategy for her. And that is the desire in the afterlife, because she's showing, like, first of all, embodiment of what she does. So if she's like, yeah, I went for a walk around the corner and that's all it took, 10 minutes outside. Or I went and I got myself a Starbucks coffee because that's what makes me happy for 5 seconds. She's going to document those little things, whereas her ideal client is looking at that and thinking like, gosh, I want to be able to do that and I want to feel joyful just because of that. So she's truly, instead of having to convince, here's what you should be doing or here's what you need to do, she's showing how she does it in her own life. That is the desire in the afterlife. If you are like a business coach and you make a ton of money, you can talk about how much money you make, but that's not going to be the only thing that you talk about. It's like, you can say, here's how I worked my ass off this week to have a $10,000 week. Here's all the things that I did. For me, I could say, here's all the pieces of content that I created this week, and here's the thought process that I had behind them. So again, it's like your true embodiment of what you teach. That is the desire in the afterlife. All right, so we have origin, identity, the gap and the remedy, proof of concept, the desire in the afterlife. The final one is called eras content. And I've talked about this before. I actually posted about this at the end of 2024, and it was like, people were messaging me left and right, like, that's so helpful. Eras content, however, is like, I would say this is 10 to 20% of your overall content strategy. This is not something that you're going to post all the time. With that being said, there's something going on in your life that is like, you question, do I post this because it has nothing to do with my business? Do I expose this part of myself because do people even need to know this about me? And I will say this, I say this all the time, I'm a very private public person. Like, you don't know what's going on in my life, and you don't need to know what's all the things that are going on in my life. And I feel that way about you. Like, we don't need to air out our dirty laundry all the time. That's not what we're doing here, especially if we're running businesses. However, there's this aspect, especially now with AI coming in, this is huge. There's this aspect of like humanizing yourself in your content so that people like, know, and trust you. And the like and the know is going to come from Era's content. The trusting is going to come from probably proof of concept and all that other stuff that we talked about. So when you're able to say, like, for example, I've had different eras in my life. Like right now I'm in my IVF era. I'm in my infertility era, and I post about it. I don't post about it all the time, but I do post about it. And not only am I doing this so that I can allow my community to understand who I am behind my business, but also it's like self-expression for me, selfishly. It's like, I can't keep talking about programs, and I can't keep selling into these spaces knowing that my heart is broken over here and I can't talk about that. Like, why? Because someone told me that I might be an influencer? I don't give a shit about that. Also, influencers are doing something right, dude. We buy something from influencers every single day. Like, they're killing it. But at the same time, it's like, I post about what I'm going through sometimes as a means of like, once I get this off my chest, and once I can share about this in a creative, artistic way, I know I'm going to be able to move through it, and I'm going to be able to continue marketing my business. And also, it's like, this is a part of me. This is a big part of me. And so I bring people along for the journey on certain eras. So hopefully that makes sense. Now, again, that is like a small portion of your content. That's not going to overpower what you do. Whew. So those are the 6 languages of content. And I just did that in a crash course. This is everything that I break down and I define. I give you formulas and frameworks inside of the Evolution membership. So if you're like, that was very helpful and I want more of that, then the Evolution membership is your place to be, so that you can achieve, like, you can master scroller psychology and get people to stop on your content. Now, that's just messaging. So we didn't even cover like the visual aspect or the branding aspect or the difference between carousels and reels and where to apply each. Like, we didn't even talk about any of that. However, those 6 languages to me are like, you can use those in your emails. You can use them on different platforms. So like, I have clients that are on LinkedIn and Substack. Like they use those languages over there. Like, you can do it anywhere you want to. It's not just Instagram, but this is definitely the 6 languages of content are going to help you master diversifying what you post, knowing that you're moving the needle forward in your business and your marketing in a way where it's very rich in storytelling and it's very much connecting to your audience. Because at the end of the day, the most successful businesses are the ones that connect with their audience. They pull on heartstrings, they evoke emotion, they, all these different things. They capture the storytelling and the essence of that. Whew. All right. The challenge is still going. There's only actually a couple content audits left. So if you haven't shared one of these replays to your stories and tagged me, do that first so that you can get a free seat to the upcoming masterclass that I'm hosting. And then to get a free content audit, you would share 5 of the replays to your Instagram stories, tag me in each one. Well, we're going to tally up who does that, and you will get a free content audit from me. Okay? Yay! Happy day 7 of Chanmas, and happy Friday. I will see you guys soon.